Alrighty, g'day guys, welcome to part 3 of the Sens Overexplained. This is obviously the tier 3 barracks, so we'll go through all the units in here, talk about when they're good, what they might be useful for, do you want to send them, and read the descriptive texts. We're going to save my favourite one for last. We're going to go from the bottom up to the top, so we're going to go this way, that way. We'll go that way, that way. Anyway, start off with the Demon. Commander of the Burning Legion has powerful auras. So it's got a Swiftness aura, which increases nearby allies' movement speed by 15%, a Damage aura, 10% damage buff aura, and it's spell immune. Does a lot of chaos damage. She's tanky as all hell. You can see I've done this straight after I did the tier 2, so I've got a whole lot of send buffs going through. So these stats aren't going to be accurate on this unit, so I'll make sure to show you the stats on this unit. But yeah, as you can see, I sent one unit on the entire tier 2 barracks here, and these are the buffs I've got. So 28 plus 10% HP, 6.6 attack and move speed, and then 4.2 plus 7.4 damage. So we'll have a look at that in a practical sense. So actually, if we just have a look, it's 2, 4, 7, 11, 13, 15, 17, about 2k, so about 3k lumber I sent, evening out the buffs. And so if we have a look at the stats, 216 to 251 at damage, got 234 to 270, which is stacked with the aura, 0.77 speed. This is faster than that, don't know, I'm not going to do the maths on exactly how much. 2800 HP, this thing has 3126 HP, right? So I've got 300 health on my Demon. That's just from sending the tier 2 barracks units. So you can just see that working, right, in a practical sense there. Anyway, Demon, every level you can send a Demon, then you'd send a Demon, right? If you want to send and Demon is available to send, then you send it, right? There's not much to say. It's the strongest send. These auras are insane. The stats are insane. It's good on the king. Like, there is zero reason to not send a Demon when you can send a Demon. Right, next we've got the Maiden of Pain, who sounds like a troll even though she's a succubus, so that's interesting in and of itself. So we're a fast moving unit, got 20% lifesteal attack, which does not work versus the king, because the king counts as a building and lifesteal doesn't work against buildings. But yeah, solid damage, solid attack speed, not the most range, okay HP, chaos damage, which is nice. In general for this thing though, it's like, it has competition from Kraken, and like, holy shit, the Kraken is like a super good send. Like, spoiler alert, the Kraken is really good. So I don't think there's a lot of use for the Maiden of Pain. You gotta remember, on 15 you can send as many Krakens as you want now, so do I want like Kraken Warlock, or do I want Maiden of Pain? So I'd rather have an extra Kraken and a Warlock, thanks. Yeah, there's not a lot of space for this unit, honestly. The lifesteal attack is like whatever, because it's an assassin. It'll spawn late and it'll like run around trying to find some way to attack. It did get a buff, has more movement speed, less collision, which will make it have an easier time attacking, but I still just think that a melee send without an aura for 800 lumber, that's a hard sell, right? There's a lot of good things that just do more than just a bit of damage. So I would personally just not really use this unit. I think to make this unit relevant, I think the lifesteal's got to be replaced by something that is more interesting, especially more interesting against the king. Yeah, I'm not sure whether that's like maybe every 5 attacks it does like a roar or a howl of terror or some ability like that. I don't know. Maybe it has like, yeah, there are a whole bunch of things you can do, but I think you need something to make it scary if it reaches the king. Because like, this is like, oh yeah, whatever, we just ignore this unit. It does decent damage, but it probably just gets blocked, or it's really quick so it runs fast and then dies quickly. So I don't like the Maiden of Pain. I would stay away from it. Next up we got the Gargoyle, the Premier 11, 13, 14 send. Super good, good as it's always been. It is an ominous flyer, often seen among the dead. So yeah, ominous, often seen among the dead. Ugly as all hell, but yeah, it's a strong send. I mean, it's good versus the king, it's good versus the lane. Has enough range to actually like attack freely in the lane, especially because it's flying. This thing's really good. Like, this thing's really, really good. Yeah, if you're sending 11, 13, 14, then you're sending gargoyles, that's kind of how it goes. It's a good send. Good as it's always been, but a little bit better. Right, next up we've got the Nerubian, short-ranged, fast assassin. So this thing is the only reason you might not be sending all gargoyles, right? It attacks really quick, right? That one. This thing attacks really fast, faster than the gargoyle. Has magic damage, which can definitely be better on 14. A lot of the units that are good 14 have heavy armor, thinking Cyborg Blaster as probably two of the like premier examples. I refuse to put Cavalier on that list, I hate Cavalier. But yeah, magic damage. It does comparable damage to the gargoyle, considering the attack speed is better, a little bit less overall. And the range kind of hinders it, but I think if you're seeing a lot of like heavy armored melee units, and you're still sending 14 instead of 13, then I would be thinking about a couple of Nerubians and not feeling too bad. Gargoyle is overall a little bit better. Yeah, it's just overall a little bit better, a little bit more splashable. But this Nerubian it's relevant. It's in a good spot. I like the Nerubian. Right, next. Firelord Marksman of the Burning Legion has powerful ranged attack. So it has an ability Explosion, deals 50 AoE damage when it kills a unit, and this chain reacts. So if it, swings, hits a unit, kills a unit, and then if that explosion kills another unit, then that unit that was killed by the explosion will explode. So the idea is it blows up a lane that has nothing but nulls on it in one attack. In general, I haven't seen a lot of things happening from this ability. It doesn't work like Immolate, I believe is the name, from the Firelord and Melee, where it like stacks up the... We'll send it, by the way. Where it like stacks up the ramping damage, and then whenever the unit dies, it explodes. This thing actually has to get the kill, which can happen. Yeah, damage is like not too bad for sure. Speed, pretty similar to Demon, slightly faster actually. Range is fine, HP is fine. It does magic damage instead of chaos, which is... And it's okay that it does magic damage, it doesn't make it like actively worse. Chaos is obviously just going to be the most splashable, but magic's alright. I mean, this unit's strong. It has competition from Demon on 16 plus, and it's always going to lose out. If you can send a Demon or a Firelord, you send a Demon. But on level 15 in particular, where you can send Firelord, can't send Demon, then like, yep, you're sending the Firelord. This thing's strong. Yeah, it's good if you're sending like Demon Firelord for later game sends. Yeah, that's strong. Without a doubt, that's really strong. So yeah, it's a good unit. It's in a good place. I would say this ability doesn't do very much, but just as a pure like sit at the back and attack things unit, it's pretty good. It's good against the king as well, so Firelord's good. Send your Firelord. Next up we got the Kraken, a widely feared monster with no real weakness. It's got a couple of abilities. It's got the poison, so it slows and deals DPS to an enemy, and it can also slow the king. I don't know if the poison does damage to the king, but it slows it, which is more important anyway. Then it has a 10 health per second bonus regeneration ability, right? So Kraken is good. Like, Kraken has always been good. It's always been good to send multiple Krakens on like whatever level you're sending. It is still good to send multiple Krakens on whatever level you're sending. If you continue sending lots of Krakens on lots of different levels where you can send Krakens, then you'll have a good time. It's a good unit. Alright, Shaman. Orc Spellweaver with great magic damage. Got the Bloodlust ability or Blood Rush. Increases attack and movement speed of an ally by 20%. I believe this is permanent now. Not sure, but I believe it's permanent. Anyway, does like whatever magic damage. If you compare it to Nerubian, obviously, like the pure DPS stats-wise, very favourable for Nerubian. It's obviously the ability of Shaman gives it its niche. I would say the first level you send this is 20. And then if you start sending it on like 27, 28, 29, 30 again, then it's like super strong. Not the most impactful send, but good in the late levels. Good on the boss levels, 20 and 30. The only thing I'd say is if you're sending like mass on whatever level it happens to be, then you don't want to send shamans as well. Otherwise they're going to use their skills on militias, and militias with an extra 20% attack and movement speed are still not very scary. They do the job they're meant to do, but you buff them up and they're not worth the buff. So yeah, niche send, but a good one, so it has its place. Next up we've got the Ballista, a long-range siege unit, dangerous if protected. So this does double damage versus the king. Ballistas are the send on 12. That is it, because they outrange level 12 creeps, so they stay behind them and get protected, and then they do a good amount of damage to the king. Yeah, send ballistas on 12, don't send ballistas on basically any other level. For 340 wood now you have other options, such as the king himself, the ancient tree. You can send the wild spider, probably don't do that, but just send another warlock over a ballista in general, I think. So I would say ballista is the send of choice on 12, but it doesn't really have another niche, but that's okay. It's a good send on 12. Right, next we've got the Infernal. Didn't actually send a ballista. Next we've got the Infernal, so fighter from the Burning Legion with immolation, flame that can burn nearby enemy. Okay, so its abilities are bash, so 25% chance to deal 120 damage and stun the target. Does not work versus the king, thank god. Immolation, burn nearby enemy land units for 10 damage per second, 300 range, and then spell immunity. So this thing suffers a little bit from the tank sends coming quite quickly. This thing I've seen die pretty quick. It's also worth saying that now you can send double Kraken or like multiple Krakens on 15. This Infernal gets a lot less interesting. Like it's contested with Firelord on every level after 15, right? So on 17 I would rather send Demon Firelord than Demon Infernal Warlock, for example. And yeah, it feels worse on 15. I'd rather send 2 Krakens than like Infernal plus an ad. So I think you're not going to see a lot of Infernal nowadays. If you got a whole shitload of wood to send, then sure, boost Infernal in there. It's not terrible, but I think the day of Infernal, the days of Infernal coin flips on 15 are a little bit past us at the moment, which is alright. Not going to see a whole lot of this guy, I don't think, so I would generally just look to send more Krakens or Firelord instead of the Infernal. Next up we've got the Behemoth, extremely tough attacker, can endure quite a lot of damage and still fight. It's got Resilience Aura, plus 3 bonus armor to nearby allies, which, yep, it's a good send. So Behemoth, you can send it on level 13 and 14 now, I believe is the case. Yep, send it on 13 and 14. I don't know about 11 or 12, but 11 is whatever, and you wouldn't send it on 12 anyway. So yeah, but 13 and 14, it made them a lot better, because this is just like a pretty fat unit, right? 1500 HP, decent damage, but yeah, it's the resilience aura and the fact that it's a relatively tanky unit. So the Behemoth is good. It makes 13-14 harder to hold without a doubt, which is cool, which is interesting. I like that. So you're sending this 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 25. You're sending this on every melee level, basically. So yeah, Behemoth is super good. As soon as you can start sending it, if it's a melee level, you'll start sending it. So it's a good unit. Alright, next up we got the Pudge. Brutal Abomination of Flesh and Bone. Grants nearby melee allies 10% lifesteal on their attacks. This thing is good on 10, but you need a lot of lumber. It contests with Panda. I would say Panda is Pre-nerf Panda was probably a bit better, but if you sent both, it was super scary. At the moment, maybe Pudge is slightly better than Panda on 10, but I think it's still Panda. But yeah, this thing is good on 10. It's sendable on 14, but you got to remember that it doesn't do much to the king. It just gets blocked around the outside, and the lifesteal doesn't affect the king, or it doesn't affect units attacking the king. So it's pretty bad versus the king. It can be good if your opponents don't have many heals, like 0 or 1, and you're just trying to break lanes. So Pudge is a little bit better than 1 Gargoyle or 1 Nerubian against like lanes that have an AoE sort of setups. Examples being like Tox, Elite Archers, Ghost Ice Troll sort of setups. Can help the creeps stay alive. So that's relevant, but pretty rare to send it on 14. And then wouldn't really send it 15, 17, 18. Don't like it 15, 17, 18. It might actually be pretty good on 19, but I'm not sure. I've heard tell that 19 is kind of scary now, but I haven't actually played a 19 game yet. But we'll have to do that at some point. Anyway, and then 21 is really good again. And then in the like late game, every melee level, it's probably worth giving them a little bit of lifesteal a lot of the time because the units get stronger. So yeah, Pudge ain't bad. Send some Pudges on 10, maybe sometimes on 14, maybe on 19, but definitely don't skip this on 21. Alrighty, we have one last unit, but because of its ability, what we're going to do is something kind of cool. I really like that I can send 99 of these. Hang on. Alright. We're going to have some loyalty pledges going on here. I hope I don't crash the game. I think I'm about to crash the game. Anyway. Come on, game. It's only like 300 of these very large sends. Oh god, that's lagging so hard. Alright. Don't crash, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. So we'll see it here. Holy hell. Okay. Alright, cool. It didn't crash. So if you have a look at my buffs now, of course we have the Ancient Tree. Half bird, half tree, full awesome. This is my favourite send because it's really cool. 60 to 79 pierce damage, 1.4 attack speed, so somewhat slow, 150 range, 825 HP, heavy armor. The ability, Wisdom, bonus stats on this unit are doubled. Look at the fucking Ancient Tree now. This is the most ancient of trees. So, we're going to give this a comparison to... Okay, it resets my hotkeys when you use that command, that's fine. I'm going to compare it to a demon. Ooh. Very inconvenient. Sorry, forgot to... Okay. So I've got one demon, one ancient tree. This demon has 3,000 damage, 33,000 HP, and attacks really quickly. This ancient tree has 16,000 damage, 129,000 HP, and attacks really quickly. So you know what the best send in the game is? That's right, my friends. It is Ancient Tree. Let me just screenshot this Ancient Tree really quick, because holy shit, that thing's a crank. But yeah, so Ancient Tree, it's pretty bad until... Wait, pause. It's pretty bad until, like, quite late. But yeah, she's really good once you get her going, as you can see. Wouldn't send this in the mid-game at all. This is the kind of send where if you've been sending like a shitload of units, this thing will start getting actually pretty relevant stats-wise in the super late game. But you know, you'll have to investigate that for yourself. It'll completely depend on the game. So if you're spending 380 wood on a unit with 16,000 damage, no, 160,000 damage and 129,000 HP. That's right, yeah? Yeah, it's right, okay. So yeah, if you're spending 380 wood on a unit with 160,000 damage and 130,000 HP, then that is probably worth it. But if you're spending 380 wood on the base unit, then it's pretty crap. So it's just a question that depends completely on the game. But anyway, Ancient Tree, half bird, half tree, full awesome. Cheers very much for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all of that. Fuck yes, Ancient Tree, and I'll catch you in the next one.